Somebody is always watching. And sometimes you don't know who's watching or to the level of how they're watching you. And that's positive and negative, I must say. I didn't even know, like, it was higher ups, like people, like some heavy hitters that was watching me progress through the year. They're seeing the different things that I'm doing, and like to get recognition from them and them like reach out and or just shoot me a text message and be like, yo, I see the stuff that you're doing, like keep doing your thing. It's like, hey, you paying attention to me, like little old me? Because to me it's like I've been wanting to do what I'm doing like since forever. So
all right, what's up, family? Desires Energy is back. Kids do not smoke that crack. Y'all see, we are back again at the Black Store. We have another lovely podcast. We have a superstar named Ashlo right here. She's in the building. She's going to introduce herself to the people real quick. Tell the Desires Energy Nation.
Hey y'all, it's me, Ashlo. I am from Houston, Texas. You want me to go? I'm just going to give you guys a very short.
I want her to go into her whole history. You know, how did, from the day she was born to the moment she led her feet to this spot. I want to know about it. So go ahead, tell us.
That's a long story, but and I'm long-winded, so I'm gonna try to get straight to the point. I'm Ashlo. Government name is Ashley. I'll spare y'all my last name, but I am in marketing, events. I host, pretty much in a creative space. Long story short, how I got to become the person that I am. I tell a lot of people, growing up, I used to listen to the radio station every morning. Shout out to 97.9 The Box. Every morning while I'm getting ready for school, I remember from elementary, middle school, high school, always having them on. And it got so bad, I remember like in middle school and high school, I started constantly winning prizes on the radio station. And that's what I'm like.
Now I'm confused. So wait, in middle school and high school, you started winning prizes on the. So what, were you just calling in, or were they?
I was calling in. So I know I say I listen to them in the morning, but it kind of became my lifestyle. Like even I remember in high school, the radio station being on in class, like the teacher playing and whatnot. But I'll get home, like, get home after school or after practice or whatever and doing my homework, and I have the radio on. And you know how they say be caller number 9 or be caller whatever to win, passes or money and stuff like that. So I remember like the first thing I won was some meet and greet passes to Bow Wow. And this was when I was like heavily. Was he Lil Bow Wow? Yeah, he was Lil Bow Wow. I ended up meeting him twice, but first time he was Lil Bow Wow, second time he was Bow Wow. But I remember that being like the first prize, and then I ended up winning like iPods from them, gift cards, a lot of different just meet and greet passes. And I said all that to say the experience, and not just my experience with the radio station, but how I saw other people energy from it, like when going to events and them just putting smiles on and giving out free stuff and that making people day. I was like, I want to be able to create that experience for people. So
wait, go back. You said making people what?
Making people day, like making people happy, like giving them that energy.
You know how gay used to mean happy? So I thought you said making people gay.
Oh, no.
I was like,
well, could have said that too, but but making people day, making them happy or making them gay, but in a happy way, But I said all that to say, listening to them, I end up and starting to form relationships with the people that actually work there, just calling up and asking them questions. Like in high school, I started doing the morning announcements. I was on a broadcast team. I was hosting events. And I was constantly forming these relationships with people that worked at the radio station, because at that point, my goal was to work there. I was like, I'm going to work there. I'm going to be the person that's doing events. This is before I found out it was called marketing and promotions. I just, in my mind, I'm like, it's giving free stuff out. Yeah, it's giving free stuff out. It's being at events. It's just, being in a positive space and creating that for others. So fast forward, junior year in high school, and I'm like calling them, asking, how can I work there? How can I work there? And they're like, well, you have to intern. You have to go to college and you have to become an intern before anything. That's what they told me. That's what they told me. That's what they told me, because it's a lot of people, but we're gonna get into that. But yeah, some people, but this was before podcasting started. This is
social media was just
yeah. So it was a different ball game back then. It was more what I say, more traditional.
more gatekeepers too.
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get to that. But so I went to college, ended up doing my undergrad at Stephen F. Austin State University, where since this is so funny, I knew what I wanted to do, right? Like I knew I wanted to work in a radio station. I knew I wanted to do events. I knew I wanted to be a media personality. I knew I wanted to like give back to people. So going into college, I already knew that there were certain classes that I needed to take. So I didn't do the traditional. I knew I was more horrible, and I'm honest with myself, people. Be honest with yourself. So I knew I was horrible at math. Like, I knew I was not trying to, and to be honest, y'all, I had to take one math course for my 4-year. I think it was college algebra. And I failed it every single semester. Like,
All majors fail is algebra.
yeah, I failed it every single semester except for my last semester in college. That's when I finally passed it. But I said all that to say I could have went like having an actual marketing degree, but I did mass communications instead, because in mass communications, I was able to do my marketing classes as electives. So I did my marketing classes as electives. I only had to just have one. I had to take more writing classes because I love writing. So I had to take more writing classes instead of math and science. And I was able to have like broadcasting class. So I was able to learn how to write scripts. And, we had a course where we hosted our own radio show during campus. Well, not during campus, but during college. I remember, I think it was like 2 semesters. And I, like I said, I knew what I wanted to do in life. So I made sure I took those courses to give me that experience in undergrad. And then I end up eventually interning at the radio station. I first did my first internship.
You graduated college and then you started interning, or were you?
No, I was still in college when I did my internships. So I did one at CBS Radio. It was 95.7 with the Crackin' Nuts. Shout out to them because they were originally with 97 on the box. So for me, it was an honor to intern with people that I grew up listening to, and then be like right in a room with them and learn hands-on experience with them. And then the following year, I did an internship with 97.9 or Radio 1 Houston, and that was an experience too, because it was more on the promotional side. So the first internship was media, where I was actually on the air with them and in the studio and taking requests. This was back in like, I think 2012, like, yeah.
So you said your first. So you said your first internship was more on the media side. Your second was on promotion. So, kind of for me, explain the difference exactly, because I looked at media as being part of promotion. So
yeah, like, of course. So just think of different departments within a company. Mm-hmm. So of course you have your on air talent, but then you also have on the promotion side, if you go to an event, those that's at the event that's promoting the brand. So with my first internship, I was in a studio with them. I was like considered on air talent with them. And I was Yes, I was in front of the camera. Yeah. And then my second internship with Radio 1 Houston, I was behind the scenes with the marketing and promotions team. So I was going out with them to activations, learning how to do just the marketing and the branding behind the radio station and things of that nature. So it was 2 different sides of the industry, which was perfect for me because that's what I wanted. I knew I wanted to do all things. Now, there are some people that specifically want to focus on being talent and being in front of the camera or being, on air personalities, but I knew I kind of wanted to do all 3 because I knew like it all worked together. It all had some synergy and cohesiveness. So said all that to say, did all that, end up graduating undergrad, end up, after I graduated, applying for 97.9. Almost got the role, but it did not work out. I'll just leave it at that. It did not work out. I'm not going to go into details, but it's okay because I believe God always have a plan for everybody. And that following year, The role I applied for Radio One Houston, it was a entry level role. It was like promotions team, and it's cool, but and I ended up not getting it, and I was very devastated because at the time that was my dream job, like dream job, fresh out of college. Like everybody knew I was gonna work there. End up not getting it. Yeah, everybody knew. Like everybody expected it. It's like for the sports player where everybody expect them to make the team and they end up not making it. So it was kind of that situation with me, but year later I end up getting a promotions and events director role for Fox in Louisiana. So that's a whole like level up compared to entry level, and it just taught me that you have to be patient and you have to, with J. Cole, I'm a big J. Cole fan, you have to like not sleep on your level because you never know what's really meant for you. So I did that, but of course life has its ups and downs. Had that job, loved that job. It was a dream come true. I was doing everything that I said I wanted to do, from going to the radio station in that market, being on air, promoting the shows, writing scripts for like Dr. Oz and Steve Harvey to put on, Fox in our market, putting on events. Like it was my dream job. Everything I wanted to do was in that job. Yeah, that was in Louisiana for Fox, Fox Network. So this was when Empire was big. Steve Harvey still had his show. And it was some other like great shows. And I primarily worked on the primetime shows and like promoting and marketing the primetime shows and like daytime shows. The market I was in, I didn't really have to focus on news, which a lot of...
Can I ask you this?
Oh, yeah.
Because speaking of, you just made me think about it. What part of Louisiana? Was it New Orleans? Like what city?
So this was actually a small market. Have you ever heard of Lake Charles?
Yes, I have.
So yeah. So I was actually in Lake Charles, Louisiana.
I was actually gonna follow up my question. So I've heard a lot of small markets. It's a lot, especially from a media perspective, promotion wise, because even like a lot of small businesses, smaller markets, they tend to struggle because it's like a lack of people, a lack of consumers. So how were you able to, or just from the organization you were working with, how were you guys able to, I guess, maximize your potential inside such a small market? Because, places like Houston, I guess New Orleans to a certain extent, but like the major cities, it's easy to find content, to find people. But when you're in a small market like you were, then to me, that's amazing. Just the names you were able to list out that you was able to actually work with.
Yeah, so that's actually a great question. So in small markets, yes, there is a lack of resources. And with that, you just have to learn how to lean on the resources that's available to you. And that's what I did a lot. So for instance, me going to the radio station and just forming relationships, regardless, like wherever you at, you got to make sure you form the proper relationships. So I had a strong relationship with the guys that worked at the radio station and was able to use those resources. And since this was a market that I wasn't necessarily familiar with, like I've been to Lake Charles a couple of times, but to actually live there and to have to deal with the people and get familiar with that market compared to Houston, it's different. So I was there for 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there for 2 years. Wait, was I there 2 years? Wait, probably 1 year. It's been a while now. No, I lied. It was probably one or 2 years.
Working that hard,
yeah, I can't. I mean, when time go by, when time starts to go by, you like, wait a minute. Yeah, it's just like a point in your life. But I definitely used my resources there. So it was the relationships at the radio station. Then also just thinking of other relationships that I had formed up until that point of being there. And then I think when you have good energy, people just tend to flock to you and want to help you succeed. So I remember there were events that I wanted to do because, like you listed, the small markets don't necessarily get the same opportunities as the big markets. So I remember I wanted to do an event around Empire, the show. They were launching another season. I think it was probably like season 2 or season 3. And my station didn't have the budget for it, like to put on the event. So I put together this proposal. I called like different resources like venues and all these other resources to ask them like, hey, can you guys be a part of this event? But can it be more of like a partnership or sponsorship? Because I'm gonna be honest, we ain't got the money, but I feel like this would be a good look for the city, for the market. And they were all for it. They were like, we love what you're doing. Like, you're bringing people together. Like, everyone said yes. And literally the only thing I paid for was balloons.
So that's a real good gem. So when you don't have the budget for it, then work hard to partner, find sponsors if you can, but partner with other organizations that have either like your vision or idea or have a similar one as well. And to ask this, so what was your pitch in a sense, or your station's pitch to these other bigger like stations and markets? What was you guys like offer? Because obviously it's a value exchange. So not only you saying, hey, can you sponsor us or can we partner with you? What were you guys offering in your pitch that they looked at and saw and said, yeah, we definitely like to work with y'all?
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember particularly with one of the sponsorships or partnerships with the venue owner that we held the event at. My pitch to him was the amount of people that we can bring that night and the value of the show popularity. So I knew, being the marketing and events director, of like the viewership that the show was getting. And then at the time that people were, having watch parties. So instead of having a watch party at your house, you can come have one here at this venue and you're getting free food, you're getting free prizes, like all these good things. So it is always good if you are going to reach out and ask someone to do something complimentary or at no price, to let them know what the value is or what the opportunity is for them as well. Because you don't want anything to ever just seem one-sided. Yeah, so after that, I feel like I told y'all my story is very long, but yeah, but like I was saying, life is very up and down. Like, life have its seasons, and I end up getting laid off. After a year of being there. It wasn't because of me.
So it's like first in, first out. Last in, first out type vibe.
No, it was actually, I can talk about this now. The owner of the station sold the station to a broadcast company. And when because people don't know this, but Little Jim, when it comes to like, I'm just talking about television in particular, you don't have to necessarily, like the Fox here in Houston, they're owned by the corporate Fox in LA or whatnot. But you can have a private station owner. Like, you can have, like, if you wanted to.
Like a franchise.
Yeah, you can franchise, a TV station, Fox or CBS or whatever. So that was the station that I worked at. And he ended up selling the station to another broadcast company, and they ended up bringing in their own team. So I ended up getting laid off, and it was another gem I'm going to drop. Be loyal to your paycheck and be loyal to yourself, because at the end of the day, in that whole experience, even though like I love that job, there were other opportunities. People were seeing the work that I was doing, and they were like, hey, I think you'll be good for this opportunity that I have. And these are, of course, like different markets and stuff like that and different job positions. But I was like, no, I'm gonna stay here 2 to 3 more years. Like, I'm doing great. I want to continue to build, what I'm doing here. And when that day came that I got laid off, and it wasn't because of me, it was because of hierarchy, those opportunities were no longer there. So
that's actually one of the predicaments of life, like having options, because obviously the same thing applies to dating, like the same thing applies to friends. Like, you have all these opportunities, especially when you're doing good. Like, when you got money, everybody want to give it to you. So it's like, as you're doing great, you're working, you're building these connections, all these jobs are, reaching out to you, all these new opportunities. And then just like everyone else, once you lose your job, everybody disappears. So I would say, I don't really know the answer. Like, I don't even think there is an answer necessarily. You just have to use your intuition and do your best, because no matter what offers you pass up, you can always make the wrong or right decision. Meaning that if someone, even the jobs that did sound good, that were offering you these different opportunities, you don't know whether or not had you taken that, it would have turned out worse than you staying where you were. Kind of like the grass is green on the other side, you know, the whole thing. And I would say this. So you started off around 2012, you know, working as an intern, you know, in I guess in industry itself. So 2012, by then, you know, Instagram, obviously Facebook, MySpace, it was out by then. But Facebook and Instagram were pretty much, you know, I don't know if Snapchat had came around yet. It was like 2015, 2016. Okay, so yeah, in 2012, social media, especially like as we know it today, was kind of really just starting to pop off. You know, not the old, you know, computer chat room like MySpace and Facebook, but it was more so mobile now. So did you see a difference, especially in today's time? Like, did you see a difference when you first started of the ability for people to do media like online, social wise versus now? Like in 2012, did you think, let me start my own this, or did you think you had an opportunity to just get a camera? Because I know YouTube been around since 2007, 2006. So was there ever a time, because like I said, you see it all the time, people start their podcasts in their living room, they start all these different things media wise without even caring about trying to go to a formal educational background towards it. So to kind of make the question concise, what is the difference between what you see today versus 2012 when you were applying for these internships?
Yeah. So I definitely see more opportunity today compared to 2012. And when I say more opportunity, like more opportunities to be self-made compared to back then. And I feel like when I say back then, it's like 1980s or whatnot. But
technology moves fast.
Yeah.
10 years ago, you know what I'm saying? That's like,
Yeah.
you've seen a lot of apps like Vine, different ones came in and out. So
Yeah, and even with that, when I remember like everybody first using Instagrams, it was more personable. It wasn't necessarily trying to promote something or push a product or push, you know, some type of brand or anything or a business or whatnot. It was more like, hey, look at this ice cream I just had. You know, I just got.
early Twitter.
Yeah, early Twitter where people was just tweeting their thoughts and what. Yeah. So Instagram and social media back then compared to now, where you can grab, like you said, your own camera, and the way iPhones and just phones in general are set up now, and you're able to just get a microphone and plug it directly in and create your own product and then push it out there. It's like, it's a complete difference. And then you can have brands or businesses reach out to you to help you, you know, take yourself to that next level and create that monetary, you know, compensation for your brand or your business. So I think compared back then to now, if you really want to do something, there's really no reason why you can't accomplish it. You just have to go for it.
Especially if you have the talent. Mm-hmm. Sure. Ooh, I just said a word that made me think. So is there anyone that you saw, because I'm sure, I don't know if you were on your journey alone, or did you find like-minded youth that were kind of trying to go the same path, like someone who's also was interested in media and getting these certain internships that you were applying to? Because I'm actually thinking now, like you said, for those who have the talent, it's actually a lot easier to be self-made. But obviously, you know, back then, and even in some industries today, those who have talent but don't have maybe opportunity for whatever reason, because there's like gatekeepers, you know, back to what I was trying to talk about earlier. It's like, is there anyone that you can think of, you know, back in your college days or early intern days that you saw had a certain level of talent, but for whatever reason, you know, they just never got the push that they deserve, or the screen time, or the opportunity that you think they would have probably definitely succeeded in?
So I'm not going to answer the question like that, because that will kind of seem like I feel like they didn't reach their potential. And I feel, rephrase it.
So not that the person didn't reach their potential, that the person was basically cut off from it in a sense. Meaning like, almost, let's say you go back to the 60s, right? You know, this great singer, but for some reason Motown would never give them a deal or give them opportunity. But you know, if the masses heard it, they would have took off. kind of like how Justin Bieber did on YouTube, you know? So is there anyone that you can think of? You don't even say their name, but just kind of people that you remember that you saw how talented they were, but for whatever reason, there were some gatekeepers or some, you know, stuff stopping them where they wouldn't allow them to be put out there for their greatness to be displayed to everyone else.
Honestly, I gotta use myself in the whole like radio station 97.9, like no shade, no tea, but not getting that opportunity because in my mind and the people that I know mind that I was fit for that role, but you know, it didn't work out. And at the end of the day, it's like everything happens for a reason. Because like I said, that was an entry level role, and a year later, I ended up being in a manager director role. So it's like sometimes, and I said this before, sometimes a no is just redirection, and sometimes we're not thinking as big as we should be thinking. And it take meeting other people or just take like a different perspective in different situations. Like I'll say, I really want to shout out like the relationships I did form in Louisiana. Eric T, Chill, and there's just some other people that I still have those relationships to this day. And even when you hit on like how I got laid off, and you hit on how sometimes like the opportunity or people can just leave you when you out and down. And when you are out and down and you have those people that come closer to you and tell you like, yo, you got this, like keep going, that's very special, because it is true. When you out and down and you not, like, I do remember there are some relationships I don't have anymore from working at Fox, and it is what it is, because at the end of the day, everything is a cycle. You got your beginning, you have your middle, and you have your end. So things are going to come to an end. And sometimes those relationships, when you in a certain season, are going to come to an end when you're no longer, in it. But I think it's just all about going and being surrounded by the right people to keep you, keep that momentum going. But then also you have to have that self-determination. Because I knew with me, when I got laid off and I had to make a decision on, okay, am I going to move back home? Am I going to move to another market? Like, what am I going to do? And I'm not going to lie, like, it wasn't an easy decision to make. Like, it was very scary, because also I was still very young. Like, I was one of the youngest directors for Fox during that time. So getting laid off and having to make and that was my first time even hearing about a layoff and going through it. I had to make like a real adult decision on what am I going to do with my life. And this was the first time I felt like I was not in control. And I had to kind of like just pray, but I had to like strongly pray on it. And then I had conversations with, people I looked up to that were, older. And I was feeling like a failure for a small moment, even though the cost of me losing my job was not my fault. I felt like if I went back home, I cared too much what people thought at the time. I was like, dang, if I go back home, people gonna feel like, I'm not successful. I already didn't get the job with 97.9. Now I got laid off from my job. Like, I just felt like it was the end of the world. And then I was like, if I go to another market, I got to start all over. Like, and am I ready to do that? So I end up going back home, but I went back home knowing that I got to be on my grind. Like, this is not the end. I went back home, like kind of combining two thoughts into one. Like, I'm gonna go back home. For the relationships I do have that's in Houston, I'm gonna continue to foster those relationships, and I'm just gonna be on my hustle. I'm gonna do whatever that's in regards to marketing, events. I just made sure I stayed in my skill set. Like, I made sure I was still doing marketing. I was doing media. Yes, absolutely. I made sure I kept developing, because I didn't want to lose track of my goal and what I had in me. Like, I felt like I have something that, everybody have their gifts. And I feel like my gifts was to bring joy to other people, but to do it in a way where it's still like fun for me. Like, even though it's work, and I don't know if you ever heard the saying like, do something, work in the industry or work somewhere which you would do it for free. Have you ever heard or something like that? I probably said it wrong. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was my mindset. I was like, I want to make sure I'm staying in a field where I would practically do it for free if I had to. But of course, yeah. So it got bills. So that's what happened when I came back home to Houston, and from there it's just I continue to develop in different skills, different relationships with people, and it brought me to who I am today.
So, to you, what is the most? Matter of fact, I would say you're an expert at this because I kept hearing you talking about building connections. So, one of the hardest things for entrepreneurs, a lot of people to do, is network. Even people that are good at communicating, they aren't great at networking because, it's one thing for us to meet, for the first time, talk back and forth, exchange information. But it's another thing for us to really network and build a real relationship. And that's what you kept mentioning. You were building relationships throughout these years and stuff. So can you give any advice to those young people starting out, out of college or whatever that's interested in networking? But, obviously, you can read books, do all of that. But what practical advice would you give them? Because networking is more than just exchanging contacts. It's more than sending a couple emails every now and then. It's like, you know what I'm saying? So from the personal connection that you've built with these different influencers and radio stations and just important people in general, what advice would you have foundationally to get better and actually network for real with people?
I have a lot to say on this one. So first I would say, and I can really just speak from my experience. Like I was very determined to be who I am. Like I knew what I wanted to be. So, and it's okay to change your mind because there's been times where I'm like, do I even want to do this anymore?
Is it changing your mind or is it pivoting? Like you was talking about, changing direction. Because sometimes you can change your mind because I think people look at the difference between micro and macro, right? Maybe your macro goal could be the same, but the micro, like you can change your mind in the micro, meaning you have to make a slight change to whatever your approach was to the situation. Meaning that I still have the same overall goal long term, but short term I have to change my direction of what I was planning because of circumstances or because of life.
So for me, it was the latter, what you just said, because originally I wanted to work in radio and I ended up working at a TV station, right? But in context of what I'm saying, change your mind, because some people they'll go to school to be a doctor, right, or nurse, right, but in actuality that wasn't what they really wanted to do in their core. They wanted to do something else, and they end up making that decision to go down the other path that they end up choosing, their happiness. So in a sense, those kind of like two different situations, because for me, it was like a micro change, right? But I was still in the same umbrella of like entertainment marketing. But some people, they'll have a complete different career change. But I forgot what I was going to originally say. Goals, the networking. So I said all that to say, one, at who you are at that time, because we're constantly evolving. So whatever you're deciding that you want to do at that time, be genuine about it. Be genuine, and first do your own research. Do as much research as you can for yourself. Secondly, when you do reach out to other people to form relationships, make sure it's off of being genuine. Like I cannot express that enough, because sometimes what's the way to do it without being genuine?
Some examples of people like not being genuine.
So not being genuine would be, I'm just reaching out to just get something out of you type deal. And once I get it, like I don't need you no more. But if you're very serious about fostering a relationship with someone, and because when you start to foster a relationship with someone, especially when it's a part of your career journey, they're going to be a part of your life for a minute or while you're going down that career path. So for instance, me with bringing back up the radio station, calling them up when I was younger in, middle school and high school, and then continuing to reach out to them to where like they know me on a first name basis, right? And throughout the years, like I know, right? But throughout the years, like just not only on some career type stuff and asking them questions about, you know, radio or promotions or whatever, but then just asking about like how are they, like checking in on them, like how are you doing? Because now it starts to become like that. I don't just look at you as information. I look at you as a person, and I genuinely care about you because you're pouring into me. So it's kind of like when somebody pour into you, pour back into them, you know, some kind of way. Not to say like you got to be all buddy and best friends with them, but you want to make sure like there's a level of care there, because when you have that genuine care for somebody, when things are down for you or down for them, y'all gonna look out for each other. And when it comes to like I said, the career path, like for instance, me getting laid off and those relationships that I did form, it was people sending me jobs and sending me places, you know, to look. And that's based off me just being genuine with them, and not, it was just the love that we had for each other. And it wasn't on some, oh, she only reach out to me when she wants something type stuff. Like they knew like I actually, yeah, it wasn't just transactional. It was an actual like foster of a what I call like a real relationship there. So I'll say being genuine, but then also thinking about like what's in it for them as well. When you're networking, like I say, you don't want it to be one-sided. Like what opportunities do you get out of it? What opportunities do they get out of it? Because at the end of the day, we don't get our time back. So me sitting here having a conversation with you, like I'm very grateful. Thank you for having me on your podcast, by the way. But but me sitting here having, you know, this conversation, this time is never going to come back, right? So when it comes to fostering those relationships with networking, you want to like be mindful of, okay, if I do want them to be a part of my life, and seriously, because it's not going to be on some just seeing one email. If you're very serious about it, it's not going to be, oh, we just hop on the phone one time or we just send a couple of emails and that's it. It's going to develop over time. And when it develops, you have to figure out like, what's the trade-off for them as well, because they're pouring into me. So what are they going to get from me out of this, you know? So
man, she done taught y'all something. Networking class 101. Y'all can skip this class in college, kids, because she basically gave you the gems. Like everything else is on YouTube. You know, how to send an email, how to shake their hands, look them in the eye. All this is great, but like I said, that's something that we trying to learn as well, get better at, is like actually building real connections, you know, because it's like a dude that's having one night stands all the time, but he never follow up with any, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're going to be lonely at the end of the day, and you're not going to have any real, you can work for years, but if you don't know how to build real connections, really know how to network, meaning like every person, not everyone, but majority of people you meet, if they are willing to exchange contacts with you, you should be working on fostering a relationship with them. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because at the end of the day, relationships are really the name of the game. Because like with us, we do so much selling, we do all these different things, but it's the relationships that we build with these different artists, these different personalities, these different business owners that actually puts us to that next level or to those next stepping stones.
Yeah, I agree. Because real life, these past couple of years with the job, I didn't get to this part, but the job that I have now, my day job, because I still do a lot, but my day job that I have now, I've been telling people since I've been with this company, life has been very full circle, because a lot of those relationships from the past, people that I worked with in the past, like for instance, shout out to Kiati. I'm not going to keep name dropping people, but a lot. But there's a, huh? Yes, hard body Kiati. But there is a lot of people, there's a lot of people from my past that I currently work with now. And my day job that I have now, that I'm able to partner up with them and have activations and events with them. And it's based off of me being able to pick up the phone and be like, hey, I got this opportunity for you. And these are relationships that I formed or started to foster years ago. So, like I said, it's all about being genuine because these people, they don't have a problem, pulling up and being a part of not my relationship, but an activation or event or anything that I'm doing because of I've kept that, relationship with them throughout the years.
What's also just as important that she didn't mention, or she didn't really have to, but for those who are real young watching, not only did she foster and build those relationships, but she also had to build trust, because there's a certain level of credibility you have to have for people to trust and take you serious when you call them or text them about anything. Just like she said, when she calls Kiati, when she calls anybody, they, for the most part, they taking her call, and then they're going to take her up on her offer. Hey, we got this event on the 10th. We got this lounge here. We got this. But the only way people will actually take you serious and take you up on your call or your offer is if not only you have a relationship, but more importantly, they can trust you, meaning that you're credible. Like, your work speaks for itself. The consistency is there, because like, everybody got family members that they love, but they don't trust them. Meaning that they got a relationship, they cool, they love them and everything, but when that person calls them trying to make an offer or asking them to do something, it's a hard press for them to do it because they know the person's character, they know the person's work ethic, they know what they do. So networking is a combination of your relationships that you're making with people, fostering, but it's also you doing that work yourself for that person to see that you're trustworthy. Because, to be honest, I'll do business with somebody I trust before somebody I love. Because just because I love you don't mean I trust you. Meaning I can depend on you. So, and that's what I think most people will do business with people they trust more than they'll do it with their best friend if they don't trust their best friend. So you want to build that relationship and also make sure that you're trustworthy, because there's no point in trying to have everybody as friends, but can't nobody count on you or depend on you or trust what you're trying to put them into.
Because you also, I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm just doing work. This is just work to me.
Like what you just said, I feel like that actually applies to everyone. Maybe even Beyonce. I feel like to some extent, of course, she knows who she is, but a lot of times you don't really realize how far you've come until other people point it out, or until you just randomly take a step back and be like, man, I really did all that, or we really did all that, or we really came from this to this. Because most people think it's kind of like growing, right? Most people think that you're going to work out or you're going to, go to the gym today, and then when you wake up in the morning tomorrow, you're going to see a little more, form in your bicep. Like, you're not going to notice it. It's a gradual change. But when you look back 2 months later, you see the differences before and after pic. Yeah. So that kind of reminds me of that vibe where it's like all the work that you're putting in, you feel like, and to be honest, it's a mental game. You feel like you're not really making progress because you're not seeing, you're not where you want to be. So it feels like even though the progress is real small and incremental, you don't notice it. So therefore you feel like you're stuck or you're stagnant. And then out of nowhere, Jay-Z or somebody, P. Diddy, just text you and be like, man, I really like what you're doing. Keep going. You're like, what do you mean? I ain't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a surprise where it forces you to take a step back and think like, okay, I've done this. I've hosted 100 different events. I've done this. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
And I had to do that. Like, I seriously had to do that because I felt like somebody was like, just take your roses. Like, Ash, just take. Yeah, they were like, just take your roses. Like, you're really out here killing it. And I had to sit back and think like, dang. And that was because I was hard on myself. And that was like, my standards, me knowing like, mind you, when you young and you have a goal, it's kind of like, I don't want to compare myself to like Kobe and them, but like,
you're gonna be a superstar. Like, you're gonna be the top this, you're gonna have the biggest mansion in the city.
Yeah, and you got these goals that you want to accomplish and you're not there yet, but it's like you just said, other people from the outside looking in, they see like where you started and they see where you at now. And they see the progress, but you don't see it yet because, or I'm gonna talk for me, I didn't see it because I was like, I'm not here yet. I'm here, but I'm not up here yet. So I got to keep working. And yeah, I'm still in the game, but it was people that told me like, no, stop and think of, like, one of my homeboys literally was like, you did this, you did that, like what you literally just said. And I was like, I had to just sit and think like, dang, I did do some awesome stuff. Like, I did come from nothing nothing. The bottom, like internship, nothing was ever gave to me. I'm gonna say that. Nobody, like nothing was gave to me. I will say to a degree, like there's opportunities, but I had to work for those opportunities. Yeah.
I need to clarify this to people. So people gotta understand the difference between being put on and being referred. Because some people, like, there are situations that I've heard, even with like celebrity or even famous people's children. I've heard certain situations where everybody, you know, especially on Twitter, that's the app for everybody talking trash. But I've seen where they'll be like, oh, he only got that role, or oh, he only did this because he's so and so's son. And to some extent, it has a little merit. The problem is that the person still has to perform once they get that opportunity. And the one place I would say that I definitely don't see that at is, at least that much, is when it comes to athletes, because it's like, obviously Steph Curry, his dad was an NBA player. Kobe's dad was an NBA player. It's a lot of, you know, athletes now, star athletes, that their parents were famous or whatever, NBA players or athletes themselves. The reason why nobody really talks trash about them is because they have to get out there and perform every night. Meaning that just because my dad was LeBron, he can't help me take those threes. He can't help me dunk on dude. He can't help me get into the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? So, especially because our lives aren't quite as public, or our actions and our craft isn't quite as public, people tend to confuse people being referred. Because when you're referred, you have to still have the talent. You have to still have the ability. Like, I don't care, like you know, The Rock, right? I don't care if The Rock has a son and I put him on TV if he sucks on camera, if he sucks at speaking. He still has to have the ability that his dad does in order to perform, in order for people to keep putting him in these different roles. So when you being, like I said, you being referred from your, whether it's from your connections or, you know, the relationships that you've built, you still had to perform. More importantly, you had to perform up until that point for them to even say, oh, let me refer Ashlow. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody going to say, oh, let me get Ashlow if we know Ashlow sucks. You know what I'm saying? If she's weird she's crappy on camera, she doesn't know how to articulate herself. We going to look at Ashlow and say, you know what? She's talented. She's been putting in work. I've known her for 5 years. Let me refer her. She's the first one that comes to my mind when you say, hey, we need this. We need a host. We need an event planner. We need, you know what I'm saying? And that's the difference I'm going to clarify, because a lot of people, they confuse you being referred to something by someone you know as, oh, they got put on. Like, well, no, you can't get put on if you suck.
Yeah, because you also got to think about, it's also their name attached to it. So, for instance, their reputation. So you're not going to, just because you my best friend, if you my best friend, and I got this high profile event, and you just now starting off as a photographer, but this a high profile, I love you, but this not the opportunity for you, because you're not there yet. And that's the same thing with reputation. I can't put you on this event, or give you this opportunity, because you're not ready, and that's going to affect me. And because I know you're not ready for this. Like, you just started. I got to give it to somebody that is actually ready. So it's like, when people know, like I said, people watch you regardless, good, bad, positive, up and down. There's always going to be eyes on you, and you never know who's watching you to keep track of your progress, to know when you're ready for an opportunity that they have for you. But at the end of the day, when a brand and your reputation and everything is attached to that, they're not just going to give it to you. They're not just going to give it to you, because at the end of the day, they're on the line too. You get me? So, said all that to say, I am very grateful. Like I said, I'm very grateful for the opportunities and how my life played out. I don't have no regrets. I don't have no ill will. Once again, shout out to 97.9. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be the person that I am. Shout out to all the relationships from my past till now that has continued to just help me develop to the person I am today. And what else I want to say? I don't know. I feel like I said.
What celebrities have you worked alongside over the past, decade or so? My man. I'm gonna rephrase. I ain't gonna say decade. Over the past few years, what celebrities have you worked with?
Okay, now when you say work with, okay, I don't want to just. I really don't like name dropping, but let me.
Don't worry, we love name dropping, so we want to hear it.
Okay, let me think more recently, cause you talking about decades and you kind of put my age out there now. Yeah. Let me just speak on this last year. I'll say this last year. I know. I feel like you asking this because you just saw one of my recent posts, but y'all want me to name drop so bad. Oh my gosh. So this was last year in 2022. I did have the opportunity to interview Lauren London. She was great to work with. Shout out to my job. I can't say the company, but my day job, I do have an opportunity, like I say, to create activations and events and work with a lot of awesome people in a lot of different brands as well. I'm trying to think who else. You put me on the spot. But then also because I'm trying to distinguish. I'm trying to distinguish my work life because I have so many elements to me. Yeah.
Okay, put like this. To keep it narrow. What are some of the names that, from what you remember, because there's so many. So, from what you remember, what are some of the names that you can remember interviewing?
Okay.
You feel me? That's a little more narrow, right?
That is a little bit more narrow. See,
Or-
I didn't even talk about the interview. I ain't even talking about my media side.
Oh, I was
just talking about marketing.
I'm going for media. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Right now. I'm going for
Okay. Okay. So interview. I remember one time interviewing Zero. This was like years ago. Shout out to Zero. I love him. And to just see like his change over the years. Like I remember one time. This was when I was in high school. I worked at this chicken place called Little Frenchies. It's kind of like Frenchies, but it's Little Frenchies. Yeah. Basically, it was like. I don't want to say the knockoff version, but but anywho, he came. This was before I never really had saw Zero before, but I was in high school, so yeah. So I knew his music, and I probably had seen like maybe one picture of him or whatnot. But anywho, he came in and placed this order, and I'm just standing there like, and I heard the voice. It was really for me like the voice. And I was like, "Are you Zero?" And by then I had already like met a couple of celebrities, so I wasn't really like fanning out or anything. Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, I am," and I was like, "Oh, like I love your music." And shout out to Woolridge. So I'm in Mo City or whatnot or Richmond area, so. To just have that connectivity, it was like it was dope. And then like years later to actually sit down and interview him is like I just like having full circle moments. So to me it was like a full circle moment. And even I think I ran into him last year. Just his energy is so like different now. Like not to say like he, whatever, but it's just like growth. I love seeing growth in people for some reason. So shout out to Zero.
Let me ask, is there a difference? Because I've always been curious about this. Do you notice from just an energy perspective a difference between a lot of celebrities and normal people that you're around? Like, is there something different about their energy? Because they have all different personalities, but is there something that like an energy you can notice when you're around some of these celebrities, like, one-on-one, not like on a red carpet or just a bunch of people, but when you get to sit down and interview them or actually speak to them in more of a slightly more intimate setting, is there a difference in energy that you notice?
So I want to say this because I had to kind of go through this as well with I don't want to say my energy, but how people view me, because there's multiple sides to me, right? There's my very energetic side. Hey, it's Ashlow, it's me. Yeah, and then there's my very chilled side. And sometimes when people see me in public, they expect for me to be on 10. Like they expect, hey y'all, it's me, Ashlo. They expect that. And I'm on my chill. Like I'm just vibing out. I'm just being low key.
Maybe like comedians.
Huh?
Like comedians, how when they're on stage, they got to do a certain persona. And then when people meet them in real life, they're more laid back. And it's like a surprise.
But I don't even want to say, I don't want to put it in a box like that. What I'm practically saying is, it's like people have an expectation on you, on how they view you and how they want you to be around them. And celebrity, I said all that to say, we as normal people have that bad for celebrities. Do y'all think Beyonce is Beyonce all the time like that? Like, no, like, yeah, no. So, I said that to say, like, I had to, when I started having that experience and people like, cause there'll be people that'll come up to me and be like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just chilling. Like, and I had to realize that now that I'm getting more, what's the word, known or whatnot. I don't want to say.
Now that she's getting more famous.
You like to talk me up. I love it. But I'm gonna say more known that people are gonna have these expectations, and I just gotta let them know. And I understand how celebrities feel now, because even myself, for instance, one time I met Wendy Williams, right? And I was so happy to meet her. Like, I'm like real energetic because this is like one of the people I looked up to, right? Wanting to do marketing, media, all this good stuff. And her energy was different than what I expected it to be, because it wasn't the energy that she had on her show. Like, it was more chill, and it wasn't the how you doing. It was more of a how you doing. Like, it was real, you know.
It's almost like people act like people don't get tired.
Exactly. And it wasn't even that she was tired. It was just, at the end of the day, she's a person too. She's a human too. And how I want you to be is not your responsibility. And how the next person want me to be is not my responsibility. Like, at the end of the day, there's different sides to everybody. And just because that person is not on 10 or not who you expect for them to be at that moment doesn't mean that they're going through something or that they're trying to be negative or anything. It just mean like they just vibing out. But then also, to the flip side of that as well, going back to celebrities are human as well. Sometimes they could be going through something, and it's just you met them in that moment and you're not able to get the experience that you thought you would, that you hoped for, because they're having something internally or in their world that's going on. And it's like, I just want people to continue to remember that celebrities are human too. Like, even though they have all the fame or have all the accolades and money, they go through the same experiences that the next person go through. Sometimes they could have just lost somebody, you know, close to them, and they still have to go perform or still have to go, you know, do a meet and greet or do something. And it's like some are very good with putting on their poker face, and then some just want to be able to be human.
I would say that's actually, and this most normal people obviously would never know, but that's actually what puts, I would say, the celebrities or the people that we hold to such high esteem. That's actually what separates them from majority of people, is that even though there are times when they may slip or, you know, be human, they're able to put on that poker face majority of the times, because people don't think about it. Every performance, when they go out on these tours and they at these different shows, people don't care about whether you have a headache. They don't care about whether you have a stomach virus or, you know, you got something, you know, bad toe or something, you know, anything that's a positive or a negative have a negative effect or ailment on you. People don't care. They just paid to see you come up there and perform. Same thing with athletes. Nobody cares about, you know, if you got a broken finger or if you got, you know, your ankle's a little sore, but the doctor said you can play. People just want to see you go out there and perform. So, if anything, you need to be applauding almost the majority of these celebrities and people that you hold to these high standards, because they're human, but 99% or 90% of the time they're able to put on these poker faces and smile and take pictures. And just because they missed a few, when they took 100 pictures today, they missed the last little boy or little girl. Everyone wants to make it a big deal, like, oh, they don't care about their fans. But you got to understand is that just like you have bad days, just like you aren't always happy, always sad, always angry, no matter how rich and famous you are, you still have the same 5 or 6 emotions that everybody else does. True. Even God has the emotions. Like God gets angry, he gets happy, he gets sad, he gets worrisome. All of these different things. It don't matter how much money you got in your bank account. You still gonna feel these emotions. People think because he's rich, he should never be happy. I mean, he should never be sad. He should never be angry. Like, your emotions are what makes you human. It's not about how good your car you drive, the fancy house you stay in. It's going to come regardless. So don't expect somebody because of their net worth or because of how much fame they have to not experience emotions if the God that created us has the same emotions as well.
Yeah, and I also want to add to that, because I know the conversation is celebrities, and I'm going to get back to the actual question of
politicians, everything.
Yeah.
We hold to a higher standard.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah, but I also want to add to that, even in your normal life, going to work or going to school and having those expectations of when it comes to, a teacher or your boss or a colleague or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, and we were taught to, leave it at the door. Like, whatever happened at home, don't bring it to work. But at the end of the day, we're all human. So sometimes, I know I had this bad, like, I had a relative, this was a couple of years ago, had a relative pass away. And this is something that I'm working on, speaking personal experience. Relative passed away, and I compartmentalize stuff, right? So I have this relative that passed away, and I go straight to work. And I'm not even trying to think about it. And I get, like, in overwork mode. Like, I'm just working real hard. Like, just my mind is focused on work. Like, I'm not even trying to grieve. I'm trying to just focus on work. But then it came a time in a year where I had to tell my boss, like, yo, I got to take off. Like, I had to be real with myself and honest with my feelings and realize, like, I'm not a robot. Like, I'm hurting from this person that passed away. And I had to tell my boss, like, I worked hard. I did overtime. I did all this stuff. Like, yo, give me a week off. Give me a week to get. And it was a very honest, candid conversation that I had to have with my boss. I said, just let me take off for a week. Let me have some time to myself. I've reached my goals for this company so far. Everything is ahead of schedule. You know that my relative passed away. I didn't take no time off. Like, just give me some time. And that moment, me doing that, first, that was growth for me. But then also was very important for me to realize that I'm not a robot, and I have to be honest with my feelings. And I don't have to always be like the superwoman. Like, I don't have to always hide my feelings or hide what I'm going through. Like, I'm hurting. I'm hurt. My life has been altered. This family member is gone forever. So now I have to live life a little bit different, without them. Like, I have to process those feelings. And I said all that to say, everyone go through situations like that. And not to necessarily use the extent of grieving, but it can be, a sickness that somebody is hiding, or it can be like just somebody broke up with a girlfriend or boyfriend, like something that, kind of shift, and you go into a different space and people are wanting you to be that version that they like to see. And you're just not in the mindset to be that version because you got some stuff internally that's going on. So I said all that to say, I just want people to be a little bit more conscious and more kind to people, even if you see them and they're not that version that you want them to be. Like, just because they're not, you may be used to always seeing them on 10, like I said, and always smiling. They may be having a day where they, just chilling. It's cool to ask, like, hey, you good, or you okay? And if they say, like, yeah, I'm okay, like, just leave it at that. But don't push them on something because it's not a representation of what you want.
And I think men probably are more guilty of it than women are when it comes to suppressing your feelings. And like you're talking about, everyone having expectations for you. And then at some point when a man just snaps, or the person snaps and goes off on somebody, everyone, TMZ pulls out the camera and says, oh, it's, radical reaction by Ashlow, by Mark, by anybody. But it was all being pent up over time. It was something that happened the week before, then the next day, then the next day. And because you were operating as normal and you were putting on your poker face, it just seems like you blew up out of nowhere, when in actuality, all it was that was the breaking point. Yeah. Meaning a person wouldn't leave you alone. Somebody stepped on your foot. Like, it takes, after a while, all it takes is a feather for an entire building to collapse once there's enough weight on top of it. You feel me? So, like I said, to me, transparency is really the most important factor about how you're feeling, what you're able to take, what you're not. And as she was just giving an example with her boss, so when she was working, her being transparent, because it wasn't her just going MIA for a week and then, getting fired or something and then being like, oh, that's their fault. I got my own problems. It was her having the energy, because, it takes energy to communicate when you're not, in a good place. But having that energy as well as that strength and courtesy to communicate her situation and be transparent to let them know like she was going through something, that goes a long way. And I think everyone needs to become more transparent as people with ourselves, as well as with, the standards that we try to hold other people to. We have to start thinking in a transparent moment. Think about, do I always feel good? Am I always in the best mindset? When celebrities, people make mistakes, think to myself, have I ever made a mistake? What I want everyone to always bring it up forever and forever. So just like I said, that accountability and transparency that we all definitely
because it was talking about like energy, and I just want to talk about two celebrities real quick. One, and I'm not saying this because this is like my favorite rapper, but J. Cole, meeting J. Cole, like, and I've met him in different aspects, like before a show and after a show, and his energy, when I tell you his energy is great, like he will take his time and have a conversation with you, like be. Like you don't know he's a celebrity. Yes, like he still operate on like normalcy in a sense. Like he would have, I remember it was a time, and I'm very observant, and in a long line, like a meet and greet line or whatnot, and it's after a show, you can tell this man is tired. He just poured his heart out on the stage. Like you can tell he's tired, especially tour life. That's a whole nother conversation. But he literally took his time with each person in line and had a conversation with them. Now, I've been in a different meet and greets where it's kind of like you just take your picture and you keep moving. But for him to like take his time and have a conversation, and you can tell that he's tired, but he's still giving you that energy, and it ain't like he on some like looking bored type stuff. Like he's invested. Like I won't never let nobody talk down on that man. And like I said, I've seen him in different lights just have that energy, so it's cool. And then also Big Sean. I recently met Big Sean last year, and the way that I met him was so cool. But his energy, like his aura, and I don't know if like you like listen to his interviews or whatnot, and I don't know if it's because he with Jhené Aiko, I don't know, but his energy is different too. Like it's very bright, very positive. Like just being around him, I was like, dang, I feel like you're my best friend, yo. Like even though it was like a very short time, it was just very positive, and it made me just like, oh, life is great. Like life is okay. Like yeah, everything's gonna be all right. The day didn't go how I planned, how I wanted it to go, but everything is gonna be all right. So those are just some personal experience that I had that I can tell you about celebrities and their energy.
Now, that's dope. What I'm going to do, this video's been going, so I'm going to try to make this one last question because we never got around to it. Where did the name Ashlow come from? Because the government, they called me and said your name's Ashley. So I'm like, okay, that's a government name. So where does Ashlow come from?
Okay, so Ashlow. Okay, Ashlow actually came from another Ashley. I was in high school, and it was a couple of us. It was Ashley is a very common name. So yeah, so I was in class, and one of my homegirls, her name Ashley too, or back then, she was like one day randomly, and this was like I said, I went to Willow Ridge. Shout out to the Ridge, Mo City. I went to Willow Ridge, and this was like everybody was kind of adding that O to their name. Like there's a Red Joe I know and Zero. So one day randomly, she said Ashlow, and I'm sitting there minding my business, and she was like, Ashlow. I was like, who is that? She, yeah, she gave me my stage name. And she was like, I was like, why? Like, why? She was like, yo, you different than us. Like, you did. That's what she literally said. She said, you different. Like, you different. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, but it made sense. Like I was the one like doing the announcements, like doing events. Like I was, yeah. So it made sense. And ever since then, I was Ashlow. And then from there, I started like the name started becoming a symbol in a sense because I spell it ASH-LO, and I'm very prominent about my hyphen because it's everything in the middle that matters. So I do events, I do marketing, and to me, and like I said earlier, there's the beginning, there's the middle, and there's the end. And for me, like as Ash-Low, that middle, everything in the middle that matters, that's when it's actually happening. That's the event. This right here, after we finish this podcast, is going to be a memory. This is what matters the most. And now after this, I'll just have the memories to live off of. So symbolic for me, when I'm like hosting or having events, that moment, being in that present, it's what mattered the most because it'll never come. And then after that, it'll just be a memory. And then the low part, I'm always low key, or at least I used to say low. I was low key because I like to be behind the scenes. The person that was always on the morning announcements. No. When I say low key, I don't like recognition. Like, so when I do, it wasn't until these past couple of years, like I said, a lot of people didn't know I was doing stuff, like doing like events and stuff until these past couple of years. Like that, unless if you was in my circle and knew what I was doing, then yeah, you knew what my name was attached to. But if not, you didn't really know. So, I was comfortable with people not knowing that I'm attached to a special event or a high profile event or whatnot. Like I'm always the one that walk in a room and I'm not trying to be seen. Like I'll say hey or whatnot, but I'm not really trying to be seen. So
she's the host, but she ain't trying to be seen. You know what I'm saying? And I get what she's saying because it's like it's the work. She wants to put in the work. That's the thing. She doesn't need the credit, but she needs to put in the work, which is, like I said, it may have to be her hosting. It may have to be her promoting, everything else behind the scenes, getting everything together. So that actually makes sense. It's funny, but it makes sense. You feel me?
Yeah. So it's like now I am stepping into that, not so much being so low key, like being comfortable with, I don't want to say like being in front of a camera because I always been comfortable being in front of a camera, but being comfortable with like the recognition from everyone. Like for instance, like like for instance that post you saw with that celebrity person, right? And I'm not gonna lie, the comments made me uncomfortable.
Keep in mind, to her it's just another person because she's getting famous herself. So it's like it was just a friend, you know what I'm saying? To us it was like, oh, she's with a celebrity, but it was like, nah, that's a peer because she's getting famous.
No, but to me it's just work. And that's the thing. Like, I just look at it as I'm just working. Like, I'm looking at it as I'm doing what I always planned I wanted to do. So I'm not looking at it as, yeah. So, but to the next person, they're like, no, this is big. Like, you sat down and interviewed this individual. Like, you are in a room with XYZ. This is big. Like, the next person not really in these same rooms, and I'm just like, I don't know, it's a little bit weird. It's something that I'm trying to get more comfortable with.
Is you have to go home, look in the mirror, and practice saying thank you a lot.
Oh no.
Like, no, I mean practice saying thank you in a way where you don't look cringy in a sense, because it makes you cringe on the inside when people. It's like people giving you love and adoration, and you kind of like thanks. It's like it's kind of like you feel weird because people are like giving you all this praise. So you literally got to get in the mirror and practice saying thank you. Like, do it in a way where you get so comfortable doing it, because like I said, you appreciate, like we all appreciate it, but some people aren't used to getting compliments. Like they really appreciate it, but it's like it feels weird for people to be praising them.
No, you know what it is for me? It's not necessarily the getting confidence. It's not compliments, but confidence was supposed to come out, because I think having a level of self-confidence is very important, and being thankful for being in that moment. Because I was always so focused on the future that I never appreciated the moment. I'm not gonna say not appreciate the moment, but I didn't stay in the moment. Mm-hmm.
Next step in a sense. Mm-hmm. So it's like you're never living in the moment. You don't take time to appreciate it because you're always thinking what I need to do next. What's going on tomorrow? What am I planning next week?
Yeah. So with that, learning that, but then also learning, like you just said, to say thank you. Because I used to be the person, when I get a compliment, like let's say somebody compliment me on my makeup, whatnot, and I'd be like, but girl, this lash is coming off. Like I'll always have like some, I don't want to say insult, but I'll always have something negative to.
You basically, to try to bring down the level of adulation, you would try to balance it out with a negative.
Yeah.
From getting too overboard.
Yeah, and that's not a good thing to do. Like somebody giving you roses or complimenting you or saying, something positive, you just need to say thank you. Like, thank you. And that's you saying that's where I'm in that journey of my life. Like just being able to say thank you and not think about, not be in my head 100%. So much.
Y'all, we've had another great episode of the Desires Energy Podcast. We always say desire is the fire that helps to inspire. Make sure y'all please like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tap in with Ashlow. Tap in any event going around the city. She's probably hosting it. You'll see her there. Tap in with. Peace out, y'all.